But I mean, I always wanted to go to Michigan. I believe I was just pre-arrogant,
Oh, yeah.
and that was the best place to go. I only applied to Michigan, but I'm the oldest of seven. My mother was filling out the application. I was not given an option. She's, why do you want to go to Michigan? I said, well, students get a discount on the football tickets. Well, I can't put that down. I'm not sure what she wrote on there. I didn't apply anywhere else. I didn't really want to go anywhere else. I thought that was the best. That's here. So my parents both went to the University of Detroit, so I didn't have any people really that I knew. I'd been to 3 or 4 football games. I wasn't really familiar with the campus or the geography or, the second time I went there was moving into my dorm room. I went to orientation. Yeah, the things are different. I'll try to not keep saying that. My mother came in and made the bed, so I don't know how standard that is. That was West Quad. I couldn't even read the card. It said geography. It said, where do you want to be? And I said, Central Campus. I'm not good at spatial things. And it said, what dorm do you want? And I said, Bursley, which is on North Campus. And the assignment came WQ Wenley, and I thought, maybe that's the name of my roommate. I couldn't tell. Honestly, I didn't know what it meant. That was room 425. It had a sink in it. Somebody thought we paid extra money to get a room with a sink. And then they said, at orientation, they said, 50-50 that you have a stereo. So if you don't have one, your roommate probably has one. Though it's 1972, there's no computers. There was the computer, which was probably as big as this building or half as big, with punch cards, which I got to learn later. So what was I doing? Well, for some reason, they didn't have the move-in week or any of those. So I came in on a Friday, it was probably Thursday night. I had a Friday class, which I went to, but it had been moved and I didn't realize that. So I sat there for an hour and realized, just because I don't know anything, this is not my class. And then I got on a bus, the Greyhound, and went home for the weekend. I was working for Nixon Griffin Republican. At home I was a Republican precinct delegate. 18, voting age changed to 18 that year. And so when I was in high school, I ran for precinct delegate in May, and I had been to the Republican National Convention in 1972 as a YVP, Young Voters for the President. They were big on that. And met Gerald Ford there, came to speak to the big group when he was House Minority Leader, so another U of M grad. And I was into politics. I wanted to be president when I grew up, so I went home every weekend until the weekend before Thanksgiving because I was working on stuff. I only came back, in spite of what I said about football, for the Michigan State game. We won 10-0. But the student tickets, it was 7 games cost $18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it wasn't a big deal. I don't remember if I probably gave them away to somebody else on the dorm. They weren't selling out yet. So then we played Purdue Saturday before Thanksgiving. I'm not sure. I mean, it was like one weekend. I was like, this is different, or what do they do? And I was the straightest kid in high school, so I didn't drink or smoke or anything. Which lots of kids did because the drinking age was 18. So it was in the dorms. There were people, who was it? I mean, one poor guy ended up being my best man, but one of his roommates just smoked all the time. There were 3 of them in the room, and it was just a haze. You couldn't see from here to the window. And I still wondered more people didn't get TB. What did we do? We played bridge, the card game, sitting on the floor in a corner. It's very bad for our backs. And we would just, and other kids, we'd be up until 3 or 4 in the morning playing bridge. But I remember we really didn't know what the hell we were doing. And my parents had a book that you flip the pages. It said if you have this many points, you bid 2 hearts in this. So we would look at it and bid, and then we'd hand it to the next guy, and then he would see what the bid meant. And then he would do that. So we did that. That was the last time I didn't work. So my classes, philosophy, The first day in philosophy, the professor told us how he was going to commit suicide. Not that day, but that was his life, that it was his, and he wasn't, which I thought was very odd. And I still do. So, and Professor Malafakis, that was the history class I took. And he would smoke cigarettes in class. And some of the teaching assistants did. I remember he was so distraught after the election because Nixon beat McGovern and carried 49 states. And he was up there and he's trying to light the filter end of the cigarette. And I was, oh, just don't understand. He didn't even carry Massachusetts, it's his own state. So, yeah. What else did I take? I should have, well, if I had it over again, I probably would have taken classics and Latin and French I was good at. But then I placed out, I had 4 years of Latin, so I didn't have to take a language. And I majored in history. That was some general European. They were actually mostly Marxist, Maoist type professors and teaching assistants, which I was not. It's two philosophy ones that I take. I took an English class, I think. I should remember. Then the second term, I wanted money. I was saving money. My parents paid for my first year. So I started working in the dorm cafeteria, West Quad, which only fed West Quad then. And for $1.65 an hour, or whatever the minimum wage was, I started working there. And there was only 13 meals a week. It's not like when my daughter went, when you get, there's some cafeteria over here and machines and you can eat all day long. I'd eat, lunch was like 11 to 1:30 and dinner was like 5 to 6:30. And that was it. So what I had a couple A's, a couple B's the first term, and then I went down a little the second term. And decided, let's see, as my mother said, well, you meet people in the dorm that you like, and then you get an apartment with them. Okay. I don't know anything. I don't have older brothers. I don't have older friends that have been to college. I want to go here. This is fine. I'm going. Whatever it's like is fine. I really didn't. I remember my father saying, was it like what you expected? And I didn't really have any expectations. I didn't have any idea what it would be. So sophomore year, and in the freshman year, it's funny. The RA, resident advisor, so we're there. I don't know anybody. He's from Massachusetts. The Tigers were in a pennant race with Boston, which we won by half a game, so I tease him about it. He's not really a baseball fan. But I remember him saying 60% of your lifetime friends you meet your freshman year, and I was like, I don't even know these people. And it took me a while. I kind of stood back and assessed things. And I'm going home every weekend, and Republicans are not popular in Ann Arbor ever. And these are rabid McGovern people for the most part, so I'm like sort of not telling them what I'm doing. And I'm not drinking, I'm not partying at that time. Let's see, so 8 of us went to 2 different apartments on top of each other from the dorms. So I was with Gene Young. We had 2 people from Hawaii on our floor. 2 football players, and out at the end, they didn't really hang around with the rest of us. They were black too, and one other black guy on the floor. But it was 4 Wenley House. They just made the girls on the 3rd floor, and the rest were guys. It had been all male. I don't know until how recently. I mean, 71 was the first year women were in the marching band. You know, and there were like women's sports then. So what was I with? John Banas from Alpena, the Werber, he was an engineer from Ohio. And Gene was, no, Steve Budar was with me. The guys underneath. Snakely, he was interesting. He was named for his personality. Anyway, what do I remember there? What was interesting is there we could hear the band practice. And all the guys usually would go to the library, and I didn't. I'd study where I was. And I learned years later I'm ADD, but I would need a radio. I needed noise. My theory was I grew up with 6 brothers and sisters. It was always noisy. And I find silence tremendously distracting. So I'd have a radio on. Now, if you asked me what was on, I wouldn't know. Baseball game's on, I don't know the score. But each day the marching band practiced longer in the fall as it got closer to game day. So I thought it was great. We could hear them where we were in that sophomore year. That was a sign of the passing of time. And then I went into drinking, but that's another story. I was a partier at that time. So sophomore year, like I say, I should have been more serious academically. I always wanted to go to law school from when I was like 14. I thought, well, if I want to go to Michigan's law school, I need good grades. I'm just going to take introductory classes. So what did I take? I took geography then with Professor Kolar's, the legend. Sociology, psychology. It seemed like they were all the same. They just had different vocabulary. Sorry if that's one of your majors. And Kolar's in the winter term. And people said, take that. It's an easy A. Okay. So it's winter, you slog through to the Natsai Auditorium, which holds like 525 people. There's 575 people there. Like, what is this? Obviously there's people who have not signed up for the class. It's 9 in the morning on a Monday. They're sitting on the floor in the back lighting up joints. What is this? Oh, he shows this little film in his first class every year. Some of these guys like this. And it was, you start with a mosquito on a guy's hand on a boat in Florida. And then it goes out until the Milky Way's a dot. And then it goes all the way until like the molecular level, something like that. And these guys are drinking beers and whatever. You know, like 75 people leave after 10 minutes when the movie's over. He's an interesting guy. He also ate chalk once a term. People, they'd hear about it and they go, eat the chalk. And he'd eat chalk to show that it was edible. Yes, that was, what did he say too? He said he would throw out the lowest grade of, he'd give 3 tests in the final and he'd throw out the lowest grade. So I had A on the 3 tests. I said, I'm not going to the final. You have to go. They call me Snarf because of my abusive etiquette eating habits. Snarf, you gotta go. No, this is what he said. And he'd come back. Oh, he said everybody had to take the final. Or take it, right? Maybe I went in and I just put A on everything and left. But anyway, that one class I remember. Things on campus, there were like 8 movie groups. Cinema Guild and all these groups that would show movies. And they might show classics Friday, Saturday in the big auditoriums at Angel Hall or wherever for $1. Or they would also get like Chinatown when it was a recent release. And that was the big social thing, about for $1 or $1.50. And they were competitive, and then in the term, you'd get your poster with their schedule. Yeah. And it's all gone. I think they're all full. Cinema Guild maybe do part of the film festival. So that was a culture then. There'd be a TV in the dorm. So we'd all watch, oh, I don't know, Love Story would be on network TV for the first time. There's no cable yet. And everybody would be there watching it. So things were done more at the same time, whereas now you tape things. You watch Walking Dead, yeah, but what season are you on or whatever. Everybody tapes stuff and goes through it. So, but that was more of the community things, where the films that were put on. Traying, I don't know if people take trays anymore. You go out to North Campus, take the trays from the cafeteria and you slide down the hills in the snow. Always depends on the weather, yeah. I almost probably did have a concussion one time. Guy slid into me and I jumped and I didn't quite clear him, so he hit my feet and I went, yeah, so that was, and I mean and male-female stuff was, they would pass girls up in the stands, just grab them. And it wasn't sold out yet in the Daily. Said all the co-eds should sit, girls should sit in the south end zone where the empty seats are to get rid of this. I said, I would do it. I didn't think anybody was doing it. No, just unthinking. And then my daughter was going to school, I go, oh my God. I hope she doesn't meet people like I was, because it's abusive. It's not, it's not, and that kind of went away. But I mean, that was, drinking age it was 18 was the drinking age. At the end of the third quarter, they'd pass out the empty bottles. So you look at the student section, it'd be this sea getting bigger. Annie Green Springs and Boone's Farm and Mad Dog bottles going up. And they'd get the top and then they'd throw them over the edge a lot of the times. Is to meet as many people as you can and do as many of the extracurricular and the other stuff. Like the student radio station, it's not class or any credits. If you had the interest, go give it a try. I lived in West Quad. South Quad put on a play, but a couple people, a guy in the dorm and his girlfriend was in South Quad. Hey, do you want to? Sure, I'll give it a try. and find out if you like it. You get those experiences. The opportunities are limitless there, so you take advantage of as many as you can. Try to interact with as many different students as you can, because everyone has limited life experiences. But what you find at U of M is there's people from all over the world and all over the country with different cultural, religious backgrounds and traditions, and you can learn about them, experience them, and go to the games. You got to go to the football games because that's the big common bond.